This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you tuned into every Saturday afternoon. This is our ninth show. I'm Eldson McGhee, your host. I'm here today with two beautiful young ladies, my sisters, um, Melanie Anderson, with Everybody Must Mass Up. We're going to talk about that. And with my sister, Edwina Tucker, who is the surviving spouse of Joseph Wright Jr. We're going to talk about that. What are we doing here today? Doing what we do every Saturday, trying to make sense out of a senseless situation, trying to communicate things of interest to veterans, active duty military dependents, and the community. Now, we are in the middle of a pandemic, epidemic, all out resurgence of the civil rights movement. But something more is happening now because we can see that these marches are more spontaneous, they are more organized, uh, and they are going on longer. The people that are leading the marches, they are determined to make this not just a march, but a movement. Now, I'm a Vietnam veteran, 73 years old. Sometimes I don't feel like it, sometimes I do. But what it says to me that what I served for, the pledge of allegiance that I made to the United States, to the flag of these United States, are being manifested. Because no longer will any race look at another race and say they're not a member of the human race, meaning God made us all. When all God's people get together, we're better. What we have to look at is what is our role in this. Now, we have seen systematic changes because of the pandemic first. We saw that government can pick up our money in a matter of days and we can't even see where it went. We're still trying to figure out who spent it. Because the little stimulus check that they were supposed to be giving the veterans, some veterans got it and some didn't. Uh, but we should not just be looking at how what they did, but how quickly they did it, and up under what kind of pressure that they did it. Now, the corruption that followed was a corruption that was there when it started, and we know that. So what we have to be looking at right now is how we gonna deal with these issues that we got. The systemic racism is an issue that has permeated the laws of this country for over 240 years. When the Declaration of Independence was signed, it gave the people the right to rebel against tyranny. So what we see in the streets now is a rebellion against tyranny. And we got to be able to encourage this because it's manifesting some major changes that's taking place in areas that we all know they need to be taking place. It was a conversation that been stopped too long. We got the conversation going back now, and we should all try to find out where do we fit in. Well, I'm like Jeremiah, and here I am, Lord, send me. I yesterday, uh, uh, City Councilman Michael Julian Bond, our point man for the Sons of Atlanta project, invited me to be one of the ministers on podium yesterday. But not naturally, I don't go nowhere by myself. I'm showing up with some of my crew that to make sure people know that we are representing something other than us that's showing up. We represent a bigger idea. So I went down, and the prayer vision turned into one of the most magnificent responses I've ever seen on the city Capitol steps. It was amazing. All the races coming together, singing, one tune. We finna change this. Things gonna happen as it is written in the Constitution. We gonna all be treated equally. We gonna all make sure that we can make changes, adapt. And tomorrow afternoon, after I get through with services, I'll be down with another group right down on the city steps again. But tomorrow I'll be speaking to the media and the audience and the people that's there about what I see and not just in society in general, but they need to look at how I've been calling for an overhaul of VA since 2011 when I led a caravan to who was Chandler Saxby's office up there, Columbia Mall. And one of the things that we learned that they not listening to us. The VA system is controlled by systemic racism, just like every other governmental system in this society, and we need to change it. You know, so we. But one of the things that I want to make sure that when we start bringing our stories to media and to the community, that we can make sure that it's valid. You know, that we got evidence to back up what we're saying, because see, the enemy is trying to distort and separate us. Now, we need to be factual. We need to be prompt. We need to be on the money every time we say something, because the enemy is after us, and we got to remember that. Now, this is Veterans Talk. Let's get to what we came here to do. I'm gonna just let Melanie introduce herself and let Edwina introduce herself, and then we're gonna come back to Melanie so we can talk about massing up a little bit, because I know when we get through talking with Edwina, everybody gonna be ready to go out and fight again. Everybody gonna be ready to go out and fight again.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Melanie Anderson, and I am promoting the Mask Up campaign through the Sons of Atlanta Task Force. And my goal is to provide masks for those people who are not economically able to provide masks or purchase masks for themselves, which would be our children, our teenagers, our high schoolers, the homeless, and some veterans who do not have the financial means to get what they need for themselves. So what I thought to do was not just provide them with those green masks that are being handed out, but to provide them with themes, especially the children, with cartoon icons, with superhero icons such as Paw Patrol and Frozen and the Black Panthers and SpongeBob and Batman and any other type of material I can find that would prompt or promote the children to wearing their masks, because they're designed specifically for them. So I thought the best way to get children to help them and encourage them to want to wear their mask was to provide masks that have the themes that they're interested in, because children are people too. So what I did was I shared this with another Navy veteran friend of mine, Mrs. Frances Williamson of St. Louis. And what she did was she went out and bought children's children-themed sheet sets, started making out masks, and so now she's promoting the Mask Up campaign as well in St. Louis, Missouri, in her neighborhood. And so hopefully in the next couple of days I'll be able to put those pictures up, or have those pictures put up on the website, so that you guys can see where your donations are going, and the donations of other veterans and people in the community, the efforts of what they're doing and how effective it is, and how these children are excited about being able to pick out the different masks, which encourages them to mask up, which encourages their parents as well to mask up. So I think this is a good community effort, and I'm just starting with the children.
Okay, Melanie. Now, when we started the project, we wasn't starting it to keep it in the context of the Sons of Atlanta. This is an advocate process where you're actually trying to encourage other people to do it in their neighborhoods to make sure that everybody is masking up. Now, I'm going to tell you how effective this has been for us here at the Sons of Atlanta. Last Saturday, we had Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Anderson Jr. Here on the show. And before he got to the show, he made sure that Fulton County donated 500 masks to us to donate out. And we went out right out front of the church, and we probably gave out 100 out there. We went into West End Mall, and we went into Camp Creek area, and on Cleveland Avenue. And we were giving them out to any large segment of the community because the idea is that we are at war. We're at war with this coronavirus thing. There's so much misinformation, bad information that's getting our attention, and we're forgetting that the basis of everything we know right now, if we mask up, if everybody masks up, it stops the spread of this thing, so that we can kind of get control over it, so that we can reopen the society that we love and that we have here in America. But we want to make sure that as we reopen it, we come up with new ways of protecting people. And this new way we feel very strongly is masking up. Everybody masking up. Then sanitizing. You know, desanitizing your environment, keeping your environment sterile and clean, and then building your immune system, getting into some healthy food, which is Melanie thing too, but she doing a God. You know, we got to get back to some basic stuff that protect our health. So Melanie, thank you so much for what you're doing. And I'm hoping that people will mimic what we're doing here now. Right now, we got governments saying that they're thinking about making masks mandatory. That would be absolutely great, because then we know that we can stop the spread, we can do the testing to see who is not infected, and let those people go back to work. Let them go back to their normal lives and isolate those of us that are infected so that we can be treated. And then we'll come up with a vaccine or whatever that we need to come up to fight it long term. But right now, we need to be thinking about ways that we can protect our family and our friends. And the best way we know, the simplest way we know right now, is everybody must mask up. And if you can't get a mask, I've been promised some more masks. So if you can't get a mask and you want a mask, you can call me on my cell phone. We'll make sure we get some in your area. 770-895-3260. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing. Now we coming back to you, Melanie. Don't think you finna go nowhere. We got here today with my sister, the wife of the surviving spouse of one of my best friends in life. I met Joseph in 1977, the early parts, later parts of '76, and we have worked together for veterans issues ever since then until the day he died. Matter of fact, the day that he went in the hospital, he had just left this show. And when he first went to the hospital, and VA sent him home, and Edwina had to rush him back to the doctor that night, and they took him to DeKalb General rather than the VA. But he eventually got back to the VA, and he called me after he got to the VA and told me he wanted to see me. So I'm thinking that I can get out there, in the later evening times, because it was that morning. But when we got out there, Edwina came out there the same day. We got out there, he was in a medically induced coma. A medically induced coma. Now, I never had this conversation with Edwina because I know how painful it is for her to have lost her husband. He was my best friend, but he was her husband and her best friend. So, I know how painful it is, but, I'm going to ask it today because she know how much I love JD and I love her. And we're going to get to the bottom of this because it is a direct result of what these children are crying out for now. Justice. We want justice for JD. Edwina, how you doing, boy?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
So, Edwina, now, I know when Joseph left the show that day, he came home and he went to the VA. How was he doing when he got home that day? How was he?
He was fine up until about maybe an hour later, and he started losing his breath. And I asked him, did he want to go to the hospital? He said yes. And I asked him, what hospital you want to go to? He said DeKalb Medical. So that's why I took him to DeKalb Medical. from the Cab Medical, the VA came and picked him up and took him to the VA hospital. And they did some testing and everything. They even did a blood transfusion on him, which I don't think they should have did that. But they did it anyway. And after they did that blood transfusion, he was unconscious. He wasn't able to respond no more, talk no more. He was just laying there. And he was trying to ask me what's wrong with me. I said, I don't know what's wrong. And from that point, he wasn't conscious no more.
Ooh, Joseph was a Marine. Now, I was a paratrooper, so we always had this thing going. But I can say this about him: he was a fighter. He was a true soldier. He didn't give up easy. Now he had full-blown PTSD, like most of the veterans that coming out of Vietnam had PTSD. Twisted us the wrong way, he got an issue. So I'm not saying that Joseph didn't have that kind of issue, but I'm saying this: I have been in therapy with Joseph myself. Joseph's been out and some other veterans that had PTSD, and I know how well Joseph responded to the PTSD therapy. And I know that he wasn't easily aggravated anymore. He knew how to handle aggravation. So what made them do what they did to him when he got at the VA hospital, we're still trying to find out now. But that's not the end of it. The end of it is this. Joseph was never, did you ever get a diagnosis for what they was treating Joseph for?
Never did.
He never got a diagnosis. And I can say Edwina was out there every day. I was out there at least 3 times a week, and he was in this coma where he couldn't communicate with us. I don't know whether he heard us talking to him, but he could not communicate with us all the while he was in the coma. And the doctors, like they was a little agitated about us asking what's wrong with him. What is he going through? What you treating him for? We could not get any answers until one day they told us that all of his systems was failing. You know, we found that to be strange because they never had a diagnosis for Joseph. Then they said, well, we're going to take him off life support because his body gone. This is brain. It's still with us. So I watched them take him off the life support, and we, you know, naturally, I want to know what was going on. We filed some other actions to try to get some answers, and they swore that they didn't have wasn't nothing going wrong with JD treatment. They did everything they could to save him. But when we got the autopsy report, the autopsy showed that Joseph died from a fungus that was developed in the VA hospital. Now, this is where the systemic racism comes into play in VA and in the legal system, because once we filed a complaint about the condition, well, they started sending it around in different places and, you know, trying not to answer the merits of the complaint. Always trying to deal with, well, you didn't ask it because now it's too late to ask it. You know, at every step of the process. And at one step, they said, just because you find some inadequacy in the autopsy, that don't mean that anybody was negligent. But I think that's the answer for a jury to determine. If no one was negligent, how did he develop a common fungus and it was untreated to the point of death? But the irony of it all is that we are in a system that is so plagued with racism that it's designed to be able to get around any government employee having to assume responsibility for their bad conduct at work. Because when we filed a complaint, they kept saying it was untimely, so now it's untimely in the court. The court embraced an untimely position to deny the claim. They never reached the merits of the complaint. She never got an opportunity to know why did her husband have to die of a fungus that was developed in the VA hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. And no, excuse me, yeah, it is the Atlanta VA, but it's actually in Decatur. So you see they got some false rolling there. It's the Atlanta VA, but it's in Decatur. But now this center, this is not the, this is, I'm not saying something that hadn't came out since Joseph was passed. They've had all kind of complaints about the operations of VA, how it went from a 5 to a 1, you know, the facility, how it's being unkept. And they actually had suicide out there. They moved the director. Now why there's not all of this smoke tells the court that you need to look at some of these complaints that's coming out of VA by veterans. But the court system is designed to help these agencies get past responsibility. And we need to know that these systems need to be changed, because this is systemic racism at the VA, and one of the agencies that nobody would want to expect that veterans are being treated like this after serving an honorable period of service in the U.S. military. We need to make sure that the VA is one of those places that they address why they changing rules, why they making new legislative commands. We want the people to be able to have a wrongful death suit not to be limited by time the VA said, you know, so that the case can be heard and it can't be kicked out because of some notion that is untimely, which is only a scapegoat for the racist policies that have been in practice in VA medical system and claim system. Now, I don't think that they're that bad in the internment area, but we don't know. We're getting some things that coming out of COVID-19. It was a undertaker that called me that I'm very friendly with because he's a Vietnam veteran. He was getting bodies that's coming out of Albany. They was dying at Piedmont Hospital, and what they was putting on their death certificate was COVID-19 as the cause of death. Well, if COVID-19 is the cause of their death, then the surviving spouse don't get any benefits. So we have to be concerned at every turn of the clock. Now that we got people looking at the whole system, we must come up with the evidence, with the cases that validate the need for change. You know, we can't just sit back and say, oh, well, they did that at the VA to me. It's time to step forward with the evidence so that we can get change. This is a time for change. That's the equality that we serve thinking that we would get, and still you died at the VA hospital of a fungus, and your surviving spouse with a child cannot get the benefits of it. This is veterans talk. It ain't nothing but a thing. But it's a thing that we got to be on top of every day. Now Joseph passed at the VA on June the 18th, 2017. 14. Good God, no. It didn't appear 2014. It didn't appear that long. It's always fresh in my mind because you know, we miss his work, his camaraderie, and what he did for veterans. He get on a case. He was like Bernard. He didn't want to get off of it till he saw some results of it. He worried to death with it. You know, but that's the kind of advocate you want, and especially in the areas where veterans are coming out of military service every day, and the families don't know what they done been through. And I'm gonna tell you, we don't talk to our families about what we've been through, and that's something that we're gonna have to start doing, because they're the ones we come home to. They're the ones that send us in the military. The benefits of the military was you're supposed to be able to better take care of that family. But if you come back with some mental disorder, you've been wounded in a way, and you know, when I say wounded in a way, you got sexual military assaults. Sisters having a hard time doing it because of the systemic racism in the system. You know, we have to make sure that we are pointing out these cases so that we can get these cases, we can get the system changed so it won't keep happening. See, if we ignore it, we act like they didn't kill JD. You know, if we act like they didn't kill JD, they're gonna keep killing folks, and they're gonna do it in a minute where now God get the glory. They didn't try to rob Edwina of her DIC. That was the only thing that they did right. They didn't take that much time to do that, because anytime you die in a VA medical center, your DIC is probably more insured than at any other place you might die. So that's the only good part that came out of that episode. The other part that's coming out of the episode is that we got to look at these court systems and how they have been stacked in a way that they will continue the systemic racist policy and laws that were set out. You know, because now we look at how Trump have attempted to use the courts. Now, I'm not surprised that these judges are ruling against him in so many cases, because they are a separate entity in the government. If they allow him to dictate to them like he's dictating to the Senate, then where's the balance of power? See, so, you know, I think he overstepped his hand and thinking that just because he got him on the bench that they were gonna yield to him. If they start yielding to him, that means that that's not that balance of power that we supposed to have in our government. We got 3 different parts of our federal government, and they all work to balance each other.
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances. Trump has did everything he could to erase that. And the other part about it, the people's house is the House of Representatives. That's the people's house. Now, they're the one that raised revenue. But Trump done find a way that the Senate can raise revenue. So we getting a lot of bills passed by the Senate that ain't even got to go through the House. See, so we not only need an election, we need an audit of the government. We need a complete audit of our government. See, what we got to be able to understand, if we don't correct it, it ain't gonna be corrected. See, I don't, you know, becoming a pastor, I learned so. People don't like corrections, you know. I guess people don't like corrections. They don't understand that's part of the pastor's role. So if I don't correct them, then I stand to be corrected. So I ain't trying to be corrected. I'm trying to be obedient. I'm trying to be humble.
Okay. I've been trying to get e-benefits for my little boy ever since 2015. The VA granted him his benefits, but they turn around and not give, they saying on paper that they giving it to me, but I'm not getting it. I need to know who's getting it and why I'm not getting it, why he's not getting it. And it needs to be somebody at the VA, up above the VA, to check into this matter, because it don't make no sense.
Now, Edwina, you know what? We have been talking, Bernard and the task force have been talking with county commissioners. We've been talking with at least 3 of them already about building a veterans oversight on the county level. See, because when a veteran, his spouse don't get the benefit, that impacts that county level of living. So it only makes sense if we got a county oversight of veteran benefits in that county to make sure that the veterans are getting these benefits at the maximum level due. And I'm thinking that we probably at the right time in Fulton County getting ready to do this, because now we see what can be done in a way with making sure the system is fair. See, in the past, it wasn't making, they didn't try to make the system fair. They tried to make the system work for them. And once they got theirs, then, you know, it's yours if you can. We need to have a system set up that works, and when it ain't working, we got a county agency that can go in there and say, this is not right for the veterans in my county. Just straight up. We need an advocate from the government. And the county, I think, is in the best position to do that. And we need to be talking about that to some of our elected officials. You and I went out to the VA with you to get this stuff started. So we know it's in the system. But where about in the system? Why ain't they ain't responding to the application? It's just another application for benefits. They got it to the point where they ignore us when we go out there, or they misconstrue the issue.
I called him last week.
Now,
This is an example of the county commissioner having this veterans oversight that I would like to see not just be set up as another avenue or bureaucracy to go through. I would really like to see it actually work. An example that I can give you was over 10, 15 years ago when I was fighting for my claim for the PTSD military sexual trauma. I didn't agree with a decision that the VA came to, and it denied the PTSD. So what I did was my mother pushed me to go to see Congressman Johnson, Hank Johnson. Yes. So I went to his office and I provided them with the paperwork or the evidence to the complaint and the decision letter. And I would say maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, they called me and all they did was repeat what the VA told them that was already in the decision letter. So they absolutely did nothing for me. They didn't follow through. They weren't that advocate that I was looking for, or that they have said that they would be to the people in order for them to be, in order for Hank Johnson to be elected. He followed through. He fell short on that with his office. And I really would like to see there just be more than just lip service and empty promises, so that we as the people in their communities or their districts can vote them back in office, and then they absolutely do nothing for us when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road. So I hope this commission oversight actually can be effective in providing the economic disparities between veterans that are from different ethnicities. That's all we're asking. We all served in the same government. We all served under the same government for the same country, and all we are asking for is fairness. That's all. If one gets it by the same rules or stipulations or regulations, then everybody should be able to get it. Not just certain people who know certain people who come from one group of a race or no, of an ethnicity, and it's just unfair. It is unfair, it is unpatriotic, and it's un-American. So we're not asking for handouts. We're not looking for hand-ups. We're just asking for equal and fair treatment. That's it.
And we want Marvin, I'm hoping Marvin is listening to this program today, because he indicated that the appointment to these commissions will be made from the community, from organizations like ours. So we'll actually have an opportunity to have somebody sit on the commission, because it will be made up of veterans in the community, in the county. So we're looking forward to being considered for that. And then we're actually in discussion with them about formulating the bill that's going to be presented to the next budget session, which is July 2021. So we are looking forward to that. And we want people to understand that we're talking here today, we're giving out information that you need to have. You need to understand why Edwina took her time to come on the show today. Because we're going to take a case back in the courts, and we're going really public this time. Because, see, we're asking the court to go back and open up the case because it was closed without due process. Right? Due process. In other words, when you file a claim and you go through the court system, in order for that judge to have denied the claim, he should have had an evidentiary hearing, because there was a dispute between the government's position and her position. And it was never resolved. They just went to the exception rule and really offended me and the Edwina, because they're defending Joseph benefits that he served honorably for. And I know that he would stand up and fight for them. So we are here fighting for those benefits. We're going back into court, and we're going on this program. See, we don't have to worry about trying to get the standard media now to advertise and talk about our issue. We can talk about our own issues. We can share our own issues. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. We're going to be coming up sometime soon. I'm saying before Veterans Day, we will have the capacity for you to actually call in and talk to them, just like Edwina and Melanie, in order to get deeper into what they're talking about and what they are doing. Now, Edwina is trying to make sure that her son, that they have given benefits to before. They cut them off. They said it was a special grant of some kind. And I don't understand how you going to give benefits and cut them off, and they just a child. You know, and we don't have proof that he actually paid the benefits either. You know, that was an issue. So, and I know from dealing with cases every day, I've seen VA use tactics that just completely disrespect our rights as human beings, first of all, and as veterans first. Because see, you would think that those of us that serve to uphold and protect the constitutional rights for everybody else, we would be given those same rights. But we have the most difficult time in getting those rights, and it permeates throughout the veteran community. Now, I find cases for people that was officers in the military and people that was enlisted personnel. Even with that you can see the classism in how they respond. You know, if you were a ranked officer, they come back with some respect. They come back with a little bit more respect than they do for an enlisted personnel. You know, they always think that we are malingering, or we are, you know, you're going to see some bad reports on your records. So people write what they want to write on their records, and if you don't check them, they use it against you.
Yes.
You see, what veterans got to realize and what dependents got to realize, you got a right to check them. When they put misinformation in your records or bad information, you know, I mean, and they do it. They do it. I've gotten somebody's records that they ordered their C file and they sent somebody else's stuff. Or somebody else's stuff was in their C file. We have to communicate to these people about that because we recognize they're only human. But when you correct them, they have a problem sometimes. So that's why they have the patient advocates and they got these DSOs that sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So the best way you can do is learn the system yourself. And we teach you the system right here every first Monday of the month, which is the next 2 weeks. We have a VA claim clinic. And if you come to that clinic, you'll know everything you need to know to win. Now, I can't say how fast you're going to win, because the VA can make you so tired, you'll say, I don't want to deal with them no more. Don't do that. That's what they want. Don't do that. That's what they be after. You know, that's what they be after. So we just got to keep it straight, keep it real, and do what we got to do. Mass up, you know, and we want you to make sure that this is an educational program that you got to teach your children. Because we don't know how long this stuff going to be with us. And we know that people need to go back to work. But if we ain't trying to help fix it where they can stay at work and don't get sick when they go back to work, then we sending them to an early grave. We need to mass up, demand that they come up with some tests that test everybody. Those people that are not infected, put them over there and let them go on back to the parks and do what they want to do. Those people that are infected, put us over here and treat us. Treat us, give us the treatment we need. You know, stop all this sheltering down for everybody. Everybody don't need to be sheltered down. But we don't need everybody rushing back out there without being tested, without knowing whether they are infected or whether somebody they are dealing with are infected. So we got to make sure that we get everybody to mask up. And it ain't no harm in asking your elected official to give me some masks to give away. Because what we learned, they got over 150,000 masks for Fulton County. And so I said, wait a minute, y'all got all the masks for employees, what about the citizens? and they want to give us some more. So ask. You have not because you ask not. We want everybody to mass up. We want everybody to start looking at the VA claim systems because we're going to be having some talks in the coming weeks about whether you want to jump out of that legacy system and go and get over in this new system, which is so confusing. Lord help us. But the thing about the new system is online, and you can get some information by being online. Now that's going to be a work because we're trying to get churches to help us set up e-benefit register stations. E-benefit register station will help us get. I was talking to a guy about getting on e-benefit. He said, "I ain't even got no computer." I said, "Listen, we got to work on that. We're gonna go and get your intent to file form, but you need to work on getting you a computer and getting online. Everybody that can afford to do that need to do that if you're a veteran, so we can get your benefits better. The system done changed. We got to change with it, because if we don't change with it, you're gonna be fighting backwards. You're gonna be fighting backwards because they ain't waiting on us. They already got this new system in effect, and they've been in effect since 2015. That's 5 years already. And I'm still talking to people saying, I ain't got no computer. Well, you spend money on everything else, you need to put this in your budget. You can't afford a new one. Tell you how you can get it. If you're 100%, you can actually get VA to give you a computer. All you got to do is qualify, go out there and tell them you want quality of life benefits. Quality of life benefits is designed to help you with computer literacy. Computer literacy. They give you a computer and they'll pay for you going somewhere to train to learn how to work that computer. That's also for surviving spouses too. So we got to remember, if you have not, because you probably asked not, all you got to do is call us, and me and Tony will try to get you something done. Now I just want, I'm talking about Tony, both of y'all behind the screen. I got to talk about both of y'all. Our producer Tony is an amazing brother, man. My sister be talking about it every time I see her. Now I'm actually she's trying to trade her brother in. I don't know what she's trying to do, talking about Tony. Tony came over here and he taught me how to do it. You didn't have time to. I said, listen, Tony know what he's doing. I come over here, man, you arguing about 15 minutes into the session because you saying, you look at me and you say, you guessing? And my sister asked me that, man, you guessing? You know what you're doing. But I'm excited about him because he is he's a technician that can help you get a lot of stuff done without you busting your head. Because somebody got to teach us. Somebody got to help us. And Tony is always there. He got a business. That's what he do. It's a business. And, my sister was so happy. She said, he's reasonable too. Yeah, I think he's reasonable. That's what you want. You want somebody good and reasonable. So I'm just saying that. Now, we're going to start doing some other stuff because we've noticed some stuff that we have been called to do, and we was unable to do it because we let our database went down. Bernard. We're going to build a database for Anthony. I'm talking about Anthony, Tony, Mary now. We're going to build a database of contractors, but it's Veteran Right Job Service. We're going to take the Veteran Right Job Service back into being. Because I'm getting people calling. Edwina called me for some help with getting her kitchen fixed. Now, in the old days, I would have been able to reach in my thing and get somebody, and they'd have been over there and done it. It's hard to find anybody to do right with contracting today. So we taking over again. When we were running it, we ran it. Then JD was my time dog. Sometimes if we couldn't get nobody else to do it, me and JD go out there and do it. we get ladders and put on the truck or go rent a truck. We did what we had to do to get the job done. But it paid. So we got to get back to that. We got to get back there because we got too many people calling us asking for contracting help, electricians, air conditioners and stuff. And I used to have a whole group of them that me and JD used to work, and they were smooth. because they were working for the Veteran My Job Service. We call them and they go take care of the work. Be that simple. So we got to get back to that. And if any of you contracting out there listening, give us a call and get on the list. Now I'm gonna tell you a little secret though. If you don't do the customers right, we're gonna point you out. We talk about you bad on this show.
And they're coming off the list.
Talk about you bad on this show. You do good, we're gonna talk about you good on this show. Because we got to form that economic network. See, that a lot of people don't understand it. Coming out of this COVID-19, we got to rebuild networks. You know, because a lot of the networks that we had before this stuff started, they ain't there no more. You know, so we're gonna build a network of contractors so that we can get everything done from yard to pressure washing in 3-day time. So we know how to do it. We just still hadn't did it, but now we're committed to doing that over the next month. This has been a great day with Melanie and with Edwina. Edwina didn't talk that much, but I didn't want her to talk that much because this is an emotional journey for her. But we're going, after the show, we're going to release the balloons that we usually do on the 18th. We're going to release them outside the church again today. You know, it just don't seem like it was 2014. It just don't seem that long because people like JD always stay in your mind, always stay with you because you can think about him, you can think about how crazy he was and how he make you laugh, and then you sometimes think about how he make you mad. But we were just like that. We were real brothers. We get to argue about a concept or something, and sometimes we just he said, "I'm gone." The next day he come knocking on my door before I get up. I got it. Come on, open up, now get up. You know, we need servants like that in our community. And I just want to shout out to Bernard, and I want everybody to keep him in prayer because he's going through some service-connected stuff. Some service-connected stuff. We got to keep always keep that out front so veterans will know that they ain't by themselves when they're going through it. That we're all one, and we're all behind you, Bernard. We always got you in prayer. And I'm so excited about the newly organized job for the task force. I got some people start calling me already saying they didn't want to be on it. And I take it as a delight that they ain't got time to do it the way it's being written out to do it, and that's okay. That means we finna move forward. I want to give a shout out to the Church of Redeemers. We thank you for what you're doing for us. I want to thank Michael Julian Barnes and Marvin Anderson Jr. We thank you, brothers. Now we're going to get out there and we're going to do what y'all want us to do. We're finna lobby the whole city council, so y'all going to hear from us next week. Get your checkbooks out. We'll see you next week.